Hey guys, my name is Scoby and welcome back to another video. In today's video we're going to be looking at one of the weirdest PC cases I have ever seen. This is the Thermaltake Level 10 GT. Apparently it's modeled after some BMW. We're going to be taking a look at it. Let's see what it offers. So before we get too far in today's video, I do want to mention a couple things. One, this case is really beat up and it is missing some of the cool parts and features that I sadly do not have anymore. I bought this secondhand, I wanted to take some parts out of it, but that is something to keep in mind. This is not my case, this is not anything I owned previously from new. I bought it secondhand and I wanted to show it off. I thought it had some cool features that I wanted to take a look at in today's video. So the first thing is definitely the size and overall shape and design of this case. Now the model I have right here is the kind of black and orange tinted one. There was some other pure black models that I think looked a bit better, and I've seen a lot of people online customize this to give it like an army tint or kind of a mesh camo, and it looks really cool. And overall the designs and look of this has actually grown on me a lot. It's a very big case, it's got a lot of room for activity inside of it, and it's very unique. So what I'm going to be starting with is actually the front, and you can see how many actual drive bays, DVD drives and 3.5-inch bays we have right here. Now, so the person I bought it from actually had a bunch of pre-installed DVD drives here. I'm guessing someone was ripping and burning DVDs to sell secondhand somewhere. That's the only thing I can think of. I didn't ask any questions. However, that's why there's so many DVDs drive pre-installed here. These are apparently all on really nice system locks, so I can really easily be hot swapped in and out of this system by opening up the back panel. This is something we'll take a look at in more detail a little bit later, but I think it's really interesting the amount of design and the amount of customization you have with this case. The next thing we have right below this are these weird circular dimples along the side, and these are hot swappable hard drive bays. Now these are fully mounted and compatible on the back. There's this nice ribbon cable connecting all of the drives together. So all you need to do is connect these extra power and SATA cables from your motherboard and your power supply directly in here, and you can automatically hot swap in and connect drives just like that. Normally I will also mention there's meant to be a key slot so you can actually lock all of these drives individually, and there's a couple of other places you can use it in this case as well. Sadly, of course, with the case I have, it doesn't actually have this, so everything is unlocked. So if you're bringing it to a LAN party or something like this, you can have all of the hard drive cages fully locked so you can't actually pull them out, so people can't steal your drives, which I think is a super cool feature. So I will mention also behind this front panel there is a 200mm fan pre-installed here that will push cool air through all of your drives and directly into the back of the system, which again I think is super nice. It'll keep all of your drives cool but also bring a lot of extra fresh air in from the front, which I think is super handy. On the front here we have all of our front I/O. Again, we have our power button, reset button, a couple of USB ports, our audio ports, and again this case is just jam-packed with all this extra pieces of information. These 2 extra USB expansion drives again came from the person I bought it from. This thing is super jerry-rigged all over. There's a lot of extra little nitpicks here and there. It's pretty cool overall, and the more I look at it, the more the design is starting to grow on me. I think it's kind of cool, it's kind of interesting, it's kind of unique, but it's definitely a powerhouse of a case. It was really meant to do a little bit of everything, and I think it definitely helped achieve on a lot of these things. So on top here we have some extra buttons, some fan control buttons and some LED control buttons. Sadly none of these work anymore, so I can't actually show you any of these things, and I've since stripped out all of the parts in this case. The case is in super bad condition, so I know I'm going to be trying to keep it myself or salvage it, but it is really cool that you had all these extra controls on top at one point. It also used to have a removable dust cover here on the top and the back. You can see this nice empty space. Sadly this no longer exists either, but this used to be here, and I think this was definitely a cool thing that used to be here as well. Now while we're on the top, we're also going to be talking about this big elephant in the room, the handle, and for some reason if people are ballsy enough to pick this computer up just by this handle, I salute you. You can take this case anywhere you want, but there's no way I would pick up a full system inside here with this handle alone. This as an extra to also carry it from the bottom is definitely a nice to have. However, there's no way I would carry a full heavy system, especially not with any sort of loops or pumps inside, and that's exactly what I would expect a lot of people to put in this case with the amount of space inside. So now what we're going to be doing is opening up this side panel to take a look inside the case, and we can actually see hidden behind here on the side panel is another 200mm fan, and if we look at the case here again we can also see flaps here that we can actually control by a dial on the outside to point the direction where we want the air to go inside the case, which I think is super cool. So you can point it directly at your motherboard, directly at any kind of components inside your graphics card, and you can keep those cool especially simply by using this slider on the outside that will change the orientation of the fan. And I think this is a super unique feature, and I think it's actually quite useful even in today's standards if you're going to be having a big fan like this, especially 200mm, and I think it's really cool. Again, this fan was pre-installed and it is also RGB, which is pretty cool to see as well. Now another nice thing about this fan is you might notice that the cable doesn't actually connect inside the computer at all. It's actually magnetically powered when the case is fully shut. It's actually hidden directly inside the hinge alongside the side of the case, which again I think is a super unique feature. It helps avoid trying to cable manage with a case being open and closed, so this is another really nice thing. When you want to take the side panel off, you simply rotate it all the way to the side, lift it off the hinges, and it's a completely toolless mechanism. So inside the case here, we actually have a bunch of room for anything we want. Again, normally at the top, there is another pre-mounted 200mm fan. Sadly, this wasn't included with this system. There was an AIO here. It can easily fit a 240mm rad on top. But overall, the case inside and the amount of space you have, you can put any sort of system in here you want without any issues. Full size anything, it will gladly fit inside this case. Now, one unique thing I did see with the power supply is there's actually power supply grids mounted here as well. So the power supply is held slightly above the bottom of the case to help with a little bit more airflow, which I think is super creative. Again, we also at the bottom here have an extra slot where you can install another fan if you want to bring up some extra air from the bottom as well, which is another really cool feature. Coming to the back of the case, we also have some extra grommet holes if you want to do an external pump or you want to route some cables out the back as well. It's super nice to see. And overall, the inside and building in this case is an absolute dream. There is so much space here and you can build any type of system, water cooled, AIO, anything you want in here, you can pretty much do it. It's open to your imagination, whatever you want to build inside this case. Now coming to the back, we do actually have a decent amount of space here for some cable management. And again, we're going to be taking a look at specifically the hard drive bays here again, just to see this fixed ribbon cable we have here at the back. I think it's super nice. Coming a little bit higher, we can also see again here the extra hot swappable 3.5, the 3.5 inch and the actual DVD drives here. As mentioned, these are all hot swappable, so you can really easily take these in and out, which is definitely another nice to have. And I think this is super cool. I think if you're really going to be doing a lot of workstation editing or if you're looking for a big editing rig, this is something that would be cool for you. And I think overall the design and the aesthetic of this is still pretty cool. Now, a couple of cool extra things I also wanted to mention about this case. One is the actual feet. Now, by default, the feet are pointing in the direction of the case, so they're flush underneath. However, you can swivel and turn the feet out if you want a little bit more stability, depending on where your case is, if your floor is a little bit uneven or whatever the case may be. So you have a little bit more stability so your case won't rock and wobble, especially if you've got a top heavy case, which I think is a super cool feature again. And I think for a tower like this, it would definitely be needed depending on the type of system you have inside. Another thing that sadly I don't have, of course, added to the list of all the missing things I'm missing from this case, is there's meant to be normally a headphone holder that can be mounted here onto these side holes on the side of the case right above the hot swappable hard drives, which I think would be a super cool thing. Even nowadays, if you wanted to mount a VR headset or something on here, I think it would be a super nice thing, and I think it would be a nice addition here as well. So I think these are some of the most valuable features of this case. Overall, I think it's a super cool case. Now, thankfully, Thermaltake did release a new version of this. I'll be leaving links in that in the description down below. It is a little bit more modernized. However, it does seem to have a lot of the similar features and kind of the same look and feel to what it is right now. Although it is much more of a glass kind of layout and I think it looks super cool. However, there is something a little bit endearing about this old Thermaltake case that I can't help but love. I think if I had a little bit more time and a little bit more craftiness and maybe a 3D printer, I would try to fully redo this up in glory, maybe give it a nice paint job, but right now at the moment I don't have time for this. However, I do think it's a really cool case and I definitely think it had a lot of potential. I think anyone that still has this case from years ago and actually looked after it and kept all of the parts probably has a case for life. It's definitely built to last and it definitely has a lot of cool, even modern features, even considering how old the case is right now. I think it was released in around 2012, hence the aesthetic. However, overall I think it's a really cool case and I think it's definitely something everyone should see at least once in their life. Anyway guys, that's been my look at this super unique case. Anyway guys, I want to take this moment to give a huge shout out to the channel members, Sean Daly, Arbor and Joshua Davis. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. If you'd like to have your name shout out in future videos or some other perks, be sure to click the join button underneath any video on the channel. I'd greatly appreciate it. Anyway guys, that's been my video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to drop a like. Subscribe if you're new, check out the other videos on the channel. I'm going to be leaving a link down below to my PayPal and some other links if you want to check those out. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, as always, keep it saucy. Peace.